how to spot a good liar versus a bad liar. I mean, I would love for you to explain that because I think the audience would get a lot of value out of it.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that's interesting, right? Because you have to consider a good liar versus a bad liar, but you also have to consider a trained liar against an untrained liar. Because you can be a bad liar who is trained, or you can be a good liar who is untrained. So when it comes to these people who are using deception, you have to be open to two different types, right? So I think a bad liar is a good place to start. Somebody who is a bad liar can't keep their facts straight. So they can't remember the lie that they just said 5 minutes ago. So they said that they would be there at 3 o'clock. You asked what time they're coming over, and they said, how about 4 o'clock? I mean, it's easy to find a bad liar. If anything, bad liars give us all a false sense of security about how good we are at lie detection. So bad liars are fairly easy to find. They can't keep their facts straight. They physically show that they're nervous or uncomfortable during a conversation. They are very divergent from baseline. So if your bad liar is a friend or a brother or a sibling or a coworker, you know how different they behave when they're lying. So a bad liar is easy. A good liar is a little bit more difficult because a good liar means that they are naturally proficient at deception. And for the most part, when people are naturally proficient at deception, it's because they grew up in an environment where deception was part of their survival, right? So they grew up in a family that was abusive, or they grew up in a traumatic childhood, or they grew up in a place where deception was required for success. So you're talking about somebody who from the age of 9, 10, 11 years old has been actively exercising and learning from the school of hard knocks how to tell effective lies. So a good liar is a much harder person to crack. And it becomes very, very important that you learn the skills of elicitation, you learn the skills of measuring baseline, you learn how to keep your own facts straight, your own solid memory palace, if you will, so that you can test a good liar against the mistakes that they will for sure make. Because a good liar will still make mistakes. They will just make fewer mistakes than a bad liar. So you have to actively engage someone that you suspect is a good liar because they're good, but they're not necessarily trained. So now we have to make the flip to the trained versus untrained liar, right? Your untrained liar can be either good or bad. But here's what's important. An untrained liar always makes mistakes. That's because they're untrained. So they're not prepared. They're usually lying in a reactive method, which means they haven't thought their lie through. They know that they're going to be dishonest, but they don't know exactly how they're going to be dishonest. So they go into something kind of winging it. So that's why they make mistakes. If they're good, they make less mistakes, but they still make mistakes. If they're bad, they make lots of mistakes and they're caught. So an untrained liar is easier to find, easier to crack than a good liar, but not as easy to crack as a bad, untrained liar.